Well, hello, this is Randy with Ragamuffinpiper here on the porch at the Hidden D. It is a Sunday. I don't know when you're watching this, but for us it's Sunday, so I thought I would do something a little bit different. As is normal the case for me, a little bit different. I got my Rattray Fachon. It's the green, I think this is a 106, but anyhow, you've seen it before. My Rattray pipe, fabulous pipe, one of my favorites, 9mm filtered, and some trout stream. Some fabulous stories going around, some posts. I'm enjoying watching some of you share some things about your daily life. And it's hunting season. So, no, they're not coming after me with their long guns. It's either hunting or they're target practicing for hunting in the background. So it's a nice afternoon. It's been cloudy all day, but it's rather warm. It's about 46 degrees. And that's a good day. That's a good day for us for November. But I thought I'd play a little game with you, and I'll keep it short as I can. Some of you might remember this from our little discussion the other day, and not going to go into it too much. This is a book that I wrote. It's available wherever you get your books, I guess. And I'm going to, since you don't know anything about what I write, and if you win, you might get one. That's the only and last hit you're going to get. I thought I'd play a little game called First and Last Paragraph. First and last paragraph. So I'm going to pick a chapter out of the book. Now, this book isn't sequential. You can bounce around in it. It's a devotional book. But with the exception of the first and last chapters that kind of open and close the book out, anything in between, you can bounce from one chapter to the other. It doesn't matter what order you read them. Probably doesn't even matter if you finish reading them. Well, it does a little bit to me. But I wouldn't blame you. I don't finish a lot of books by a whole lot better authors. I have several C.S. Lewis books that are still unfinished on the shelf, so I don't take offense at all. But this chapter's called Who Will Go? I hope you got them. It's called Who Will Go, and it was inspired by a friend of mine who's a pastor. He really inspired us. He's one of the ones that started our big ministry into concert production, and we had a lot of major names back in the day, and we were just a regular bunch of guys that banded together that did this. But between all of us, we had expertise in the fields that it took to get it done. Alone, it would have been a big chore. And a few times, I've tried it, they've tried it, we've tried it on our own. It is overwhelming. But when we were together and doing it, and we did probably 10 to 12, sometimes 15 concerts a year, which was too much. But 6 to 7 concerts a year was more like it, especially since we all had regular jobs, full-time jobs other than that. But the writing doesn't have much to do with that. This is something I did as a result of having to leave that ministry because of some illnesses I was suffering. And this is kind of based on Pastor Terry's his ministry motto, I guess. Who will go? So I'm going to do the first and the last paragraph. Now there's a couple, 3 pages in between. Maybe a little more than that. Some of them are only a 7, 8, 9 minute read, so pretty short. But I'm going to read you the first and last paragraph. Here we go. Recently, a mentor of mine reminded me that it is not always the perfect and skillfully educated people that do the leading and discovering. More often than not, It's the willing, and even more importantly, the available that fill those shoes. Those who talk without polish in their words or lead without knowing the odds. Stepping out into a leadership role can be scary. And if it doesn't scare you, you probably aren't a good one. There were many reluctant leaders in the Bible. Moses and Jonah found out that even if you fight against God's will, he sometimes has already laid the groundwork to use you, and no matter how hard you fight, God will find a way to put you where he wants you. That's the first paragraph. Now there's a lot of thoughts in between that and the story of Jonah and my thoughts about that and a lot of things, but let's jump to the last paragraph. The answer to who will go is simple. Those that are willing to try. It's not a pastor's job to reach everyone with God's message. They can't go to your work or school, and they certainly don't have your life stories of forgiveness and mercy to share and use to relate to others. You and I are called to go. We must, especially if you know God is calling you to a specific place or a group of people. The alternative of sailing away in defiance in your own direction, well, we all know how that ended up for Jonah. Unless you are feeling short of trials and failures in your own life, I suggest we try his way the first time for once. Maybe you've done it your way for a while now, and you are not sure how to change. That is the single biggest obstacle for me, to be sure. Change. We can all do it differently as we take a step out in faith to follow our path. Believe in what God is calling you to do. Seek his guidance. It isn't easy, but it's never too late to change. Finding your way to tell others about how your journey led to a boat ride of running away or being swallowed by a big fish called failure. Being used by God to help someone else in need through our scars. That, my friend, is what grace is all about. First and last. Now that chapter is also a message on my blog. It's available in it for free in its entirety. You can read the whole thing in case now you're saying, what he's saying between, which you may not be saying. I hope you're saying that. I'll put a link in the description below where it'll take you right to my piece called Who Will Go? It's on my blogger. It's free to read, and the link will take you straight to it, and you can read the whole piece. It's also in the book, one of 30-some chapters. So there's 32 or 34 chapters in there of messages just like that on different subjects. But today I hope we hit home. You know, if you couldn't make it to church today, maybe you don't go to church anymore, maybe you never have, maybe you don't have any use for organized religion. I don't know where you're at. But I'll say it again and I'll say it 100 more times. Everybody has a story to tell. And your story is meant to help somebody else. When you go through life's trials, whether it's a financial failure, whether you did bad in school for a year because you didn't pay attention, you may have lived through an illness, cancer, or anything, and you may be making your way through it. Maybe a divorce, maybe a spouse's death, all of that. It's my belief, and I just hold on to it with all that I have because it's the basis, it's the bedrock for my faith. And that is that we are called to tell our story, but to be a living proof of what God has done in our life. Sometimes we live it and it's quiet. We don't say much about it, but I guarantee you people notice. When they notice you going through all these trials and you still have a smile on your face, or you still come to work, you still put one foot in front of the other, you still seem to have it all together when it's not. And they know it's not. They can't understand why you're not falling apart. And let me be clear. It's not because, that was a big one. It's not because we don't fall apart. Sometimes we do. It isn't a lack of faith. We're just human. And we get scared and we worry. And if you know Christ, you shouldn't. But it's a hard thing not to do. And I think the biggest lesson here is that when you see somebody else that's gone through it, and they're on the other side, and they're living again, and they're positive, and they're smiling, and they're happy, and you think, how did they get there? That's when you get the chance to tell them. Or maybe you just show them. I think some of our best outreach to people who don't have a relationship with God is the way we live our life. I truly do. So to all you out there, I appreciate everyone. I know I've gained a few subscribers lately, and you may be asking yourself, this guy never talks about the same thing twice. And I don't mean that in a good way. There's going to be some pipe talk, there's going to be some old funny stories, and there's going to be some theological things that make you go, that's the channel. I do what I do to try to make you feel a part of the discussion, not for your approval. I don't put up a single video hoping to get a certain amount of thumbs up. They're always nice. It's nice when you have approval. Not why I do it. An audience of one. Because he said to me a while back, if you won't go, who will? I remember as a kid growing up in church seeing the things where the missionaries would come through. And I always thought, man, I hope I don't have to go to Mongolia or South America or the Philippines or somewhere like that. All ministry in outreach is related to people who have to live in the jungle or third world countries. No. Friends, we have a ministry right where we are planted. And that is not complicated. It is living your life and telling your story. However you're called to do that. You may not be called to shoot a video. You may not be called to lead a church or a Sunday school class or even a Bible study at your work or school. Nope. You may have one friend or one acquaintance. And that's your job. That's my job. Not to miss out on that. All the best to you. I love it when you join me. It's good to be seen, I guess. As Eddie says all the time, glad you got to see me. Gotta love Eddie at the pipe nook, don't we? You do. So until the next time, this is Randy, the Ragamuffin Piper, wishing you all the best. Make it your best day yet. If you didn't do a very good job of that today, try again tomorrow. We'll see you soon.